This is KGW News at Sunrise.
The city feels lawless and we feel abandoned by our elected officials.
Portlanders speaking out during this city council meeting discussing how to spend their tax dollars. They just learned the city has a $60 million budget surplus.
Two civil rights organizations are asking the federal government to investigate claims of excessive and discriminatory use of force by officers in Clark County.
Before we get to those stories, though, another big headline this morning involves Rod Hill's forecast. So this is a live look at downtown Portland alongside a look at the radar with a flood watch starting this afternoon for much of Oregon and Southwest Washington.
Yes, and Eric Patterson driving for us using those wipers, lots of road spray and ponding going on area freeways again.
It looks horrible.
Good Thursday morning. It does look horrible. That's how my drive looked coming in. But Rod, you were talking about today really not being so bad by the time we get to the end.
That is correct. So a major change, and I'll get to that. I do want to show you that flood watch map that we just mentioned. This goes into effect, as Drew said, this afternoon. It's for all of Western Washington and parts of Western Oregon. And this will go this afternoon and then extend until tomorrow overnight. So that's still the period that we'll be watching everything. Here we are right now. See the yellow over Portland? That's that driving rain that Eric Patterson was trying to maneuver through. Rain is also picked up in Salem. But here's the deal. This rain is going to start moving up to the north. So it's a wet, rainy morning. And then this afternoon for Portland and Salem is afternoon scattered showers. That's a big forecast change. 53 out the door. It's mild. 60 at noon. When the kids get out of school, the steady stuff will be up around Kelso, Longview, and the rest of us not that wet until it picks up again tomorrow. My full forecast shortly.
All right, we'll see you then. Thank you, Rod. Okay, we start with a question about the future of Portland. What do you think it should do with a budget surplus? The city council heard hours of testimony from citizens last night on the urgent issues facing the city. The extra money comes from a change in the business tax. It brought in $60 million more than expected. Mayor Ted Wheeler wants to use $18 million of that on additional homeless programs. He also wants to spend another $7 million to hire more police officers. Almost 300 people signed up to share their thoughts. Here's a sample of what they said.
We have to prioritize cleanup of the streets now. If you wait, it's like a wildfire that you cannot stop.
But the perception is crime goes unpunished here. The majority of citizens are not your priority. The city feels lawless and we feel abandoned by our elected officials.
The mayor also wants to spend money on body cameras for police. Portland is one of the few big cities in America that doesn't use them. There was no final vote. The council will discuss this again next week.
Well, parents and administrators from a Northeast Portland school got together to try and figure out how to make it safer for students.
Yeah, student walkout last week at Roseway Heights Middle School turned into what some parents described as a brawl. Alma McCarty has more on last night's meeting.
Last week, a group of middle schoolers at Roseway Heights walked out. An act of protest, we're told, in response to incidents of sexual harassment among the students. In a letter obtained by KGW News to families at the school, the principal said the event escalated and fights broke out between some of the students. This leaving at least one student in need of medical attention. Parents sounded the alarm.
There's a lot of racism going on. There were fights inside of the school. There were fights outside of the school.
It made me nervous though. Yeah, it made me nervous and have my kid go to school here.
I'm not sending my kid here to be fearful for his life.
In a statement late last week, a Portland Public Schools regional superintendent reported the district is aware of sexual harassment allegations at the school made against other students through social media. The school system also aware that students of color are sharing discriminatory experiences and targeted racist language between peers.
I think it's important for children to feel safe at school. If you're feeling safe at school, you're able to learn. It's a basic need.
This week, additional plans to address the problems at Roseway Heights began, including a meeting with families Wednesday night. We spoke with parent Desiree Clark Mindersea after the discussion.
Tonight's community meeting was to address the stress that is now evident. We are doing what we can to really address the needs, social and emotional needs of everyone involved.
Right now, she's advocating for the safety of all, plus workable solutions to support students, like restorative justice, a different approach to resolving conflict in the classroom. In Northeast Portland, Alma McCarty, KGW News.
Two civil rights organizations are calling for a federal investigation into what they say are repeated, excessive, and discriminatory use of force claims by Vancouver police and the Clark County Sheriff's Office. Leaders from the ACLU and NAACP sent a letter to the Department of Justice. Now, the groups cite 8 deadly shootings in the past 2.5 years where Vancouver police or the Sheriff's Office killed someone. 5 of the 8 killed were people of color, and those people were armed. And we should note, all of the officers in these cases had been cleared.
At the end of the day, all residents of Vancouver and Clark County, regardless of race, housing status, or mental health status, deserve fair, equal, and professional treatment by police, and no one should have to live in fear.
As of last night, Vancouver police say they haven't gotten an official letter from either group, but they did send us this statement. The Vancouver Police Department recognizes and respects the value of all human life and dignity without prejudice to anyone. The department is committed as a professional law enforcement organization to continuous improvement to lawfully and equitably protect the safety of all community members. We'll continue to update you on this story.
A piece of riverfront property in Portland's Pearl District with a lot of history attached to it is now approved for sale. So we're talking about the Centennial Mill site with that big steel water tower on top of the one of the buildings. There you see it right there. So the city has tried for years to sell it with historic preservation in mind, but previous deals have all fallen through. Now, the City Board of Prosper Portland has voted to approve a sale to a California developer who already has experience building on Portland's waterfront. Part of this deal, though, is that historic preservation would not be required.
For those people in the neighborhood who are concerned that the historic piece of this building may not stick around, what would you say?
It's difficult to say with certainty given that the development team has yet to really dive in. The opportunity here is pretty wide open, to be honest. Many steps to take before we get to complete sale, if you will, but at the same time, we're optimistic.
So it'll be a few months before we know if the sale will actually go through, and if it does, it'll be even longer before we know if the developer will keep that water tower or tear it down.
Well, this has been an ongoing battle for the last 2 decades, the sea lions versus the salmon at Bonneville Dam. So for years now, authorities have been killing what they call repeat offender sea lions who've been feasting on those endangered fish. They say it's working, but they need more help. Keely Chalmers explains.
The first California sea lions were spotted at the Bonneville fish ladders nearly 2 decades ago. Ever since, wildlife biologists have tried to find ways to stop the animals from eating returning salmon. In 2008, the federal government allowed Oregon and Washington to begin killing sea lions that had been identified as repeat offenders. Wildlife officials tried trapping, then relocating the sea lions back to the coast. It didn't work.
They removed sea lion from the area, shipped them out to the Oregon coast, only to have him come back to the same area 5 days later.
It's an issue Representative Kurt Schrader wants to solve. Earlier this year, he and Representative Jamie Herrera Butler secured funding to help protect endangered salmon, steelhead, and other native fish species in the Columbia River from sea lion predation.
The wild salmon runs, they've been a buffet for these animals that are not native to the area.
Today, the 2 representatives toured the ongoing effort at Bonneville Dam. Our cameras were not allowed to follow them, but we were told they got to see cages in which those repeat offenders were trapped. Cages wildlife biologists say are too small.
So we've got our work cut out for us over the next few years to make sure they have the resources here to do it.
The representatives point to the efforts at Willamette Falls. Wildlife officials started killing sea lions below the falls in 2019 to protect a fragile run of winter steelhead. A study found sea lions were eating so many threatened winter steelhead at the falls that certain runs were at risk of going extinct.
I heard some great statistics for Willamette Falls where, extinction rates were looking at 5% chance of survival, and now it's 50%.
Not everyone supports the actions. The Humane Society of the U.S. sued to stop the killing and eventually lost in federal court. It maintains sea lions are not the problem. In a statement to KGW, the organization said, "Until the real causes of salmon declines are addressed, killing sea lions simply distracts attention from the fact that the real threats are not being adequately addressed." Keely Chalmers, KGW News.
All right, let's talk about our forecast outside. The green is sweeping across the radar this morning, Rod.
Yeah, and I want to point out, I mentioned earlier in the show that we've had some lightning around Newport, and just in the past 5 minutes, we've had another lightning strike down around Newport. So you folks be aware of that. It's an unstable atmosphere. I suppose there's a spotty lightning chance inland today as well. My big story right now is it's going to be a very wet commute with puddling taking place, lots of road spray out there, so plan some extra time. The yellow is just the driving heavy rain over the Rose City, and pretty similar conditions right now over Salem, and notice it's widespread. Here's the big forecast update. The steady rain that we have right now. Here we are at 8:30 on Futurecast. By afternoon, all of this lifts up to the north. Now, it could be a very rainy day, more than not, up in Longview and Kelso, Cathlam, and back into potentially Astoria. But for Portland south to Salem, once we get to the afternoon, we don't see a lot of rain the rest of the day. There will be dry time this afternoon mixed with passing showers from time to time. Here we are at 4:30, again showing that drenching up north in Cowlitz County, but Portland and Salem not seeing much. That continues this evening as well. So tomorrow looks to be the main rain bullseye of this 60-hour event, if you will. Here we are at 7:30. The rain area that shifts north today drops back southward over us tomorrow. Here we are at 1:30. It really looks to me like we have widespread rain all day tomorrow. In the evening, it will finally end. Here we are at 8:30 with that rainy mess dropping away from us. And then that sets the stage for a mainly dry weekend. So that is the forecast timeline update. So this shows how much rain we could have from this moment through 7:30 this evening. These amounts would not be enough to produce any big headaches other than just some casual high water spots. Half of an inch coming yet today in Portland, an inch plus at the coast. That's not bad, right? But then we add big amounts tomorrow, and the coast jumps up to 3, maybe nearing 4 inches in Cannon Beach, and well over an inch in Portland and Salem, not quite as much. If we're going to have any river flooding or stream flooding issues, those will develop tomorrow during the PM hours. Here's a look at the temperatures. It's mild out. We're in the upper 50s in Salem and Eugene. Portland is at 51. 60s the next couple of days, the mostly dry weekend. Another front brings some rain on Monday, and that's your update.
All right, Rodney, today is also Veterans Day. So right now we have 2 cadets from the University of Portland's ROTC standing watch at the Praying Hands Broken Wall Memorial. They've been there since yesterday morning. It's part of a 24-hour watch. Devin Haskins will join us here in just a few minutes to tell us more about this long-standing tradition. But first, our Verify team takes a closer look at Veterans Day and who exactly we celebrate on this day. That story is coming up after this quick break.